Thank you, Senator. On behalf of the chair, thank you. And I'm now going to, though I'm holding the gavel, ask a few questions myself. Chief Provost, let me just direct my questions to you to start with. The enterprise on the southern border, somebody's profiting from what's going on the southern border, right? I mean, who is it? Who's profiting from what's going on down south?
Smugglers are profiting. They don't care what they bring across the border as long as they get money.
And who else? I mean, who controls the southern border on the Mexico side?
There are various cartels that control the plazas.
And does anybody cross that border illegally without the permission of the cartels?
That is generally not the case.
Do the cartels profit on those who cross the border with their help and permission?
I would say yes, sir.
So the cartels are profiting from the use of children, for instance, who are being used as human shields to get across the border. Is that accurate?
They are profiting from the children, the family units, yes.
All of it. So we basically have a situation where on the southern side, we have drug cartels that are in charge of the border, controlling the border, profiting from every footfall that goes across that border, and creating this crisis, the present humanitarian crisis in this country. Is that fair to say?
Well, they are certainly utilizing the humanitarian crisis to divert our resources so that they can also smuggle other contraband across.
Increasing their profit margins.
Yes, sir.
So let me just ask you, speaking of other contraband, sometimes we hear the argument that states like mine, the state of Missouri, in the middle of the country, doesn't really have any stake of the game when it comes to what's going on along the border. But in fact, large quantities of drugs are smuggled across the border. Isn't that right? Am I right in thinking that?
That is correct. In fact, just yesterday, Border Patrol, in conjunction with some other law enforcement partners, had a seizure of 1,000 pounds of methamphetamine.
1,000 pounds of methamphetamine. Just a few months ago in Missouri, the leader of a major meth smuggling operation based in Mexico was sentenced to 38 years in prison for distributing over $1 million worth of meth throughout my state, throughout the state of Missouri. And not even 2 weeks ago, DEA agents in Texas stopped a Greyhound bus bound for Kansas City, Missouri, that had $1.8 million worth of methamphetamine aboard. It's probably for this reason that your predecessor, who's now President Trump's nominee to head ICE, I'm thinking of Mark Morgan, made a point that I think is absolutely critical. He said that every city in America is a border city, and every state in America is a border state. Would you agree with that, Chief?
Border security is national security. This impacts the entire nation.
Let me ask you about, actually, Ms. Asher, let me ask you about asylum processing in Mexico. I want to talk to you about the administration's migration protection protocols. What's important about this policy is that it's helping to remove the incentive for unaccompanied children and families to attempt to cross the United States and claim asylum frivolously, as I understand it, so that they can be paroled in the United States. I know it's been only a few months since the policy was announced, but can you tell me, has there been any progress made on that policy? What effects are you seeing?
So I will have to defer to CBP, as that is a port court jurisdiction.
Yes, sir. We started the migration protection protocols about early February or so. So since that time, we've returned 4,000 individuals, family units back into Mexico to await for their court hearing to occur later in the docket. So the program is gearing up. We're currently operational in San Ysidro, in Calexico, and in El Paso. And again, we are seeing those returns going back into Mexico, waiting for their court date, returning to the port as scheduled, then returning up to the court and continuing out with their process.
Can you give me a sense of what help or...
We're going to need to turn to Senator Blumenthal after this question.
Can you give me a sense of what help or resistance you've seen from the Mexican government in assisting with this policy?
The Mexican government has been a very good partner with us. They have to agree to take the individuals back, so we work with them daily on the logistics as to how many they could receive, the shelters that are available, things of that nature. We've agreed upon the amenable populations that we are returning to them, so they've been a good partner with us on this program.
Great, thanks very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.